Part of the reason why I like anime is because it's different. While there are plenty of shows that take inspiration from popular Western media, anime generally expresses ideas and themes from a perspective unique to what I'm exposed to on a daily basis. This sometimes takes the form of something simple and tangible like public transportation. I grew up in a small town in the country, so if I wanted to get anywhere, I either walked or traveled by car. I've ridden in a school bus on rare occasions, but public transit wasn't embedded in my day-to-day life like it is for a countless number of anime characters. This minor and mundane detail isn't enough to sell me on every single story that includes a subway or train, but it definitely adds an extra layer of interest, even if it's on the most basic level. In other instances, this contrast in perspective could be represented by a more abstract, grandiose idea, like Gon's relationship with his father. I had a variety of father figures growing up, but the concept of a father isn't the same as the real thing. I could empathize with the idea of Gon being abandoned, but his eagerness to find his father and acceptance of Jing's actions fascinated me, as I couldn't imagine sharing the same feelings toward my own. Resenting my father for abandoning me felt natural in the context of my environment, so Gon's lack of hostility towards Jing felt alien. I don't like holding grudges, so Gon's attitude wasn't completely baffling, but the strong juxtaposition between us made Gon's adventures all the more enjoyable. His mentality differed from my own, and I wanted to know why he felt this way, as well as how that attitude would shape his future. That experience came packaged within a familiar genre, however. As I've said before, I only sought after action and suspenseful shows when I first got into anime. After I watched Sword Art Online for the first time, I wanted to see other shows like it, but therein lies an ironic contradiction. Anime intrigued me because it was different, yet my gut reaction to my first anime was to find something similar. In some cases, this took the form of a recommendation. In others, I simply stumbled across a show with an engaging premise that just so happened to fall into the genre I was comfortable with. By trapping myself in this narrow space, however, I was missing out on the true uniqueness of the medium. Genre may not dictate what ideas an author can explore, but it does influence how the creator will approach their ideas. An action series or sports show may try to blend its character development into a bombastic fight, while a more grounded romance may opt for quiet subtlety. This isn't a black and white distinction though, as it isn't uncommon for these categories to blend into one another. Comedies can feature action shows can feature romance, dramas can feature comedy. For example, compare the premise of Konosuba to that of Re:Zero. Both feature an otaku protagonist who is transported to a fantasy world. Each character is presented with a grand objective and joins up with a group of girls to combat it. Kazuma needs to defeat the Demon King. Subaru needs to find out why he was cursed. If you went into these shows based solely on the premise, you might expect similar results, especially if you sought these out based off of recommendations from another isekai story. Konosuba and Re:Zero are two completely different experiences though. One strives to make you laugh, the other focuses on a thematic exploration of its main character. If you go into Re:Zero looking for a laid-back adventure, you'll probably get burned. On the flip side, if you expect a dramatic high-stakes narrative from Konosuba, you might feel unsatisfied with what you get. Imaginary Cam recently posted a thought-provoking video on this subject, and the most interesting part of his video was the idea of genre and premise trappings, something that I fell victim to in my first few years of watching anime. With a few exceptions, the majority of my anime list falls under similar genres, and most of those shows that don't are shows that I've only seen fairly recently. Yuri on Ice and Real Life certainly aren't bombastic action spectacles, but that didn't stop me from enjoying them. If nothing else, I was able to empathize more with Yuri Katsuki than I ever did with Tatsumi from Akame ga Kill. Some of the comments in my Fuka video suggested that I simply don't like the genre that it's a part of, and I'm sure that's not inaccurate. I find action shows to be inherently more interesting than music or romance shows, so a generic action series would appeal to me more than a generic romance would. However, I think an open-mindedness towards these titles is important. I might not have liked Fuka, but I'm thoroughly enjoying Tsuki ga Kirei, and neither of those shows fall into my typical strike zone. I wasn't interested in sports anime, but if I had balked at the premise of tennis, I would have missed out on the brilliance that is Baby Steps. Even Mob Psycho's bizarre visuals made me skeptical at points, but if I had let that deter me, I wouldn't have fallen in love with the show's tremendous cast of characters, or its powerful theme of self-improvement. Now, I can see you furiously hammering into your keyboards how a message like this is rich coming from me. You only have like 100 entries on your Mal page.
You dropped Fuka in only half of an episode. You said that you didn't even give Keijo a chance. Why should I take your advice?
Maybe you shouldn't. I'm just a guy with an opinion after all. An opinion that you can easily disagree with. I did say that I dropped Keijo after barely a minute, and that wasn't fair. On the surface, I thought that the show wasn't for me. But I've watched plenty of shows that weren't for me. I recently dropped everything to watch 100% Pascal Sensei just because of Second Look's video about it. I knew going into it that the show wasn't up my alley, but I gave it a shot regardless. Why should Keijo be any different? It shouldn't be, which is why I'm planning to give the series a legitimate chance in the near future. On the flip side, Fuka caught my attention because of its similar premise to Your Lie in April, but that actually worked against the show. I thought that I was going to get lemonade, but instead I got lemon soda. Not only was I disappointed in the soda that I didn't like, but I didn't get the lemonade I was hoping for either. And that made me even more disappointed. When I say that I want to expand my perspective, I'm not suggesting that I shouldn't drop any shows. Life is limited, so I don't want to waste my time on something that I'm not gaining anything from. Nothing in the first 11 minutes of Fuka interested me, while an abundance of things disinterested me. If that isn't enough justification to drop a show, I don't know what is. The important thing is that I gave Fuka a chance to win me over. I could have tuned out after the first scene, but because I'm still relatively new to anime, I couldn't jump to any strong, definitive conclusions like a veteran viewer could. As I gain more experience with the medium, my ability to make such judgments will improve. This lack of experience can also hurt my credibility as an anime YouTuber depending on how I phrase my arguments. I'm not exactly in a position to make broad claims about quality, which is why I hate the way I went about writing It's Okay to Like Bad Anime. As far as this video is concerned, I think that factor actually strengthens my case. I spent most of my time watching a specific type of anime while ignoring the rest. This didn't cheapen my enjoyment, but it restricted the possibilities of what anime could offer me. If Hunter x Hunter has taught me anything, it's that a title, logline, and graphic can tell you nothing. It gives a decent insight as to what the show is about and what the destination is, but the key details that make each series great lie not in the cover page, but in each individual episode. YouTube is similar in that regard. A catchy title and thumbnail can tell you what the video is about, but they can't tell you why you should support that particular creator. You can only figure that out by watching the video. If a unique premise can fall apart, so too can a mundane premise act as a backdrop for a masterpiece. Zankyo no Terror is about two teenage terrorists battling against the police. But by the show's end, I neither know much about nor care much about these protagonists or their endeavors. Conversely, Yuri on Ice is about figure skating, Baby Steps is about tennis. But I remember those shows because of their character growth, engaging romance subplots, and in the case of Baby Steps, the competitive themes it delves into. I might not be interested in figure skating, but I can empathize with Yuri's performance anxiety. I can invest in tennis when I have a strong protagonist like Achan to root for. The setting is not the be-all end-all. So, next time you see a show that isn't up your alley, give it a shot. It might just be a hidden gem you never would have expected. Special thanks to King Kevin 30, Micah Dunn, Stone Cold 0007, and all of my other Patreon supporters for giving this channel a shot. If you're interested in more of my content, consider checking out my wrestling channel or my Twitter page. Until next time, keep on YouTubing.